Hey everyone, I'm Todd Wayne along with Ronnie Heelan. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Paranomaly Podcast. You know, on this episode of Paranomaly Podcast, we will be talking with Jennifer Lee. Now, from a young age, she's felt the presence and the pull of spirit. And since connecting with and opening up her abilities later in life, she has felt a deep calling to serve others. So having watched spirit move through her life and those surrounding her, she's had a passion to share this beautiful gift with others. And she prides herself on relaying accurate, compassionate, evidential messages, offering healing and hope, as she has been a practicing psychic medium professionally for approximately 7 years. So grab yourself a drink and a snack. Turn the lights off on the way back. Find yourself a nice comfy spot and enjoy this episode of Paranomaly. Stay with us, folks.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear us?
I can.
Okay.
Cool.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm just getting our volumes all set here.
Okay, that's what I'm going to work on. And who do you have with you, Todd?
This is Ronnie. This is my
Ronnie,
fiance.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Aren't you glad you didn't have to take a shower and do hair and makeup?
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad. Like, I took a shower. It's more putting on the pants that I was.
Right. You can totally wear your PJs.
That's right.
Yes.
All right. So, Jennifer, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I am an evidential medium. I am also a psychic, so a psychic medium, if you will. Also a death doula and an energy healer. So I kind of came. Boy, it's such a long story about how I came into these, but they really opened up for me about maybe 9-10 years ago. I really started working with them. So I do a lot of one-on-ones, which would just be the one-on-one readings with clients. I do a lot of energy healing. I do a lot of homes, of residentials. I'll go in, a lot of them feel like they're having an issue in the home. They want to know what's going on. So I'll go into their homes and just kind of clear energy for them, explain the difference, explain to them what's there. Sometimes, most of the time, they think that their house is haunted or, they've got a spirit or they've got something negative going on. It's not necessarily the case. So I like to explain energy all the way around and how it is in our home and, what's creating it, what's causing it to stay there, and then move it out for them and hopefully give them a little bit of peace in their home.
So let me ask this question.
Okay.
Going back to your younger times, when did you start noticing that you was maybe a little different? Well, you had these, like we're all different, but when you noticed
right?
that you had these kind of
Abilities.
gifts, yes.
Yeah.
Well, so hindsight is 20/20, and I'll tell you, I didn't know what they were when I was younger. I just knew that something was different. I was the child that, I knew from, very young. I would say 4 or 5, that I felt like everything had life. I was the one that would name my stuffed animals and other, inanimate objects because they had feelings and I really worried about insects, spiders, those kind of things. I couldn't kill them. I would put them outside very gently. I just had this understanding that life was more than what we see on the surface. That being said, I also grew up on a farm, and so I was surrounded by death. I saw it. I saw it all of the time. So we also had, here's when I think that I really knew something was different. We had 2 unmarked graves that were very close to our farm. They're very, very old. My father said he remembers them being there when he was young. We weren't supposed to go over and play by them, of course. But of course, I did.
Yeah.
I would pack, right? I would pack a lunch, and I would pack enough. I would pack 2 extra, and I would go and I would sit there and I would just talk. They were my friends. I would
Oh
have
my God.
conversations.
I did that too when I was a kid. I played in cemeteries all the time. I'd go to 7-Eleven, get a whole bunch of junk fruit or whatever, go sit on the graves, usually kids' graves, and just sit there and eat and talk to the dead people. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one thing. Most of my friends weren't doing that. My brother, he has since passed, but my brother would go with me. My brother was, he would go with me. He would usually fish in the creek that was right there. But my other siblings just thought, okay, weirdo, she's going over to the graves. So just, things like that. I always had kind of this is going to sound very, very morbid. But I also had this fascination, for lack of a better term, with death. Oh God, this sounds horrible, you guys, but I always wanted to know, I always wanted to look in the obituaries. We always got the paper. I always wanted to look in the obituaries. And I always had this weird hope that maybe there would be a funeral we could go to, because I wanted to go. I wanted to check it out. I wanted to see the person in the casket, because I couldn't wrap my brain around the fact that they were actually gone forever. And so I was very, very fascinated by it. So there's that. It's also a strange thing for a child.
Just a little. Yeah.
Want to do.
What do you want to do when you grow up? I want to look at dead people.
I just wanted to understand, right?
Sure.
Because people would say, well, they're gone. They're dead. Well, are they really? I just could not wrap my brain around that concept. So that was something that I did that was a little odd when I was younger as well.
Oh, right. And a lot of kids, they still have that thought process of, well, there's my grandmother laying there, or a family member. So yes, I mean, that is, I'm sure, I can't remember myself, but I'm sure some children, they look at that and they're like, why is grandma there? Not knowing that that's just a vessel now. Right.
And so that's the stuff that I was trying to learn when I was younger. I had this odd fascination with it. As much as I didn't like it, I didn't like it. Growing up on the farm and seeing the animals and all of the stuff that we did, I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I would have hated it too. Yeah.
Oh, it was horrible. But then I still had this other side of me that I always felt like, but they're not really gone, and I didn't piece it together. Like we said, hindsight is, oh my goodness. When I look back when I was younger, I'm like, okay, that's why. Another thing that happened to me when I was very young, 3-ish, maybe, I can remember it very clearly. My parents can remember it as well. I could not sleep. So I was terrified of the dark. And I was seeing something that I've never been able to describe to this day. I've tried to draw it. I have tried to describe it. And I just can't seem to. But I was seeing it in my room night after night after night. The best way I can describe it is a huge spider with jointed legs, but they never bent. And it would crawl. Some of the legs would be on the ceiling. Some would be on the wall. And the way it would move is it would have to turn its entire body because it didn't bend.
Wow.
But it had a kind of a human looking face. But it used to terrify me. It would be up on the ceiling, on the walls.
Oh my God.
It would be everywhere. And so I would scream and scream and scream. My dad didn't have a whole lot of tolerance for that because he just thought that I didn't want to go to bed. And so he devised this way to keep me from getting out of the room. Like, he basically slammed a washcloth in the top of the door to where I couldn't get it open, right, and flipped off the lights. So I would just lay in there just terrified, and just cry myself to sleep because I didn't understand what this was. Until this went on for quite a while. And one night I had fallen asleep just like from the exhaustion because I would cry myself to sleep, and I woke up At the foot of my bed was what I called her an angel then. She may be an angel. I don't know. But it was just this beautiful, I drew a picture of her, this beautiful woman, all in blue. And she was just glowing this blue. And she just stood there. And I just felt like everything was all right. I wasn't afraid in my room. And then she was gone. And I wasn't afraid in my room at all after that.
Cool.
Do you believe that was like a relative or something?
I actually believe that that is a spirit guide. I can still feel her energy around me. So once I began to understand, okay, the spirit guides, and I began to discover who mine were, I came in contact with her again. And so she is still around. So
Yay, that's awesome.
Yeah, just, so things like that.
So let me ask you, what are spirit guides? Just for people that are listening to the show that don't understand what spirit guides are.
That's such a broad question. So I feel like that we have a lot of spirit guides. Okay. I feel like that we have a lot. Some of them are assigned to us before we ever come to Earth. Okay. They've been with us for all of our lives, all of our multiple lives. They have been with us, guiding us. To me, they're not necessarily a person, although as human, we tend to assign things a name and a face, right? So that it's relatable. But it really is just a soul. It's just this energy. And that's when I think of this woman in blue. The blue is what really stood out, right? That was the energy. They're just there. They are there to guide us. They are there to inspire us. They are there to empower us along this journey. And they are there, like I said, through every single life. Now, I do believe that our past loved ones can be a spirit guide too, like maybe a situational spirit guide, right? They can come in and they can guide us through a rough time in our life or certain situations. And certainly they will always be around us. But I do feel that we have, so yes, our loved ones can be spirit guides, but we also have spirit guides that are with us from forever.
And yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, could it be, ancestral from way, way, way back?
I do feel like that they are definitely part of our soul family. So absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
How do you know, and obviously everybody would be different that does the things that you do, but how do you know that you're actually talking to like a spirit guide per se than like just a regular spirit?
Our spirit guides talk to us all the time.
Okay,
so they're that little voice in your head.
I was literally about to say that. Those
Okay.
little whispers.
Yes,
The
they
little,
are that voice. Have you ever had a conversation in your head? Like, start paying attention to your thoughts. If you've ever argued with yourself, one of those is your spirit guide. And you will notice if you pay attention, one of them is very rational and kind of calling you out.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is all over the place.
Okay. Yeah.
I actually penned it one night. I took a pen because my head was going crazy about something. And I had to write very, very fast to keep up with everything going on in my head. But I wrote the conversation. And then when I looked at it, it was so crazy and so clear because it was literally two people having a conversation. And all of my answers were right there. So our spirit guides are around us all the time. They don't guide us in these huge, massive ways that we think they might, right? If we're looking for a sign, rarely is it going to be just something epic and huge. It's going to be this little nudge, this voice in your head. It's going to be the little sign. It's going to be your keys that you lost that day that delayed you. However, that delay spared you maybe from the accident down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is how our spirit guides work.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
I believe
interesting.
that's
Very
happened.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, with the spirit guides, you have multiple that could be there with you. Now, what is the intent of the spirit guides? Can you listen to like a bunch of them at the same time? Wouldn't that be confusing? I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything about this. I love this subject and this talking. I do not know anything about it. Like Ronnie, she knows a little bit about what's going on, but I have no clue.
So I'll be honest with you. I don't know all of the things either. I really don't. And the more that I learn it and I grow, then I learn other things. And sometimes I change my stance on things. But yeah, I think that it would be very difficult to have a conversation with all of your spirit guides at once.
Right?
I do
Especially
feel like
if you're doing a reading, tarot reading or whatever, and you have a whole bunch of them going on. I'd be like, hey, one at a time here.
Yeah, because I feel like, you just get pulled in all different directions,
Mm-hmm. I feel that, yeah.
So it's like having a conversation with multiple people, though. Just because there are multiple people in the room, I can still have a conversation with just you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Right? And then I can move over to the next person.
Okay, then.
So it really is just like having a conversation with a person. Now, that being said, our spirit guides influence, all of that can certainly be around us all of the time. Sometimes we call that a conscience.
Right.
That little voice, that influence is around us all of the time. I think we're just not aware of it as much as we should be, because it's always there.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a part of our environment.
I think it's I think it's like your intuition too. Like, a lot of people won't listen to that little inner voice, your gut feeling or whatever. That's
100%.
Yeah, I feel like that's your spirit guides.
Yes, but how would you know what one is? How would you know if it's a spirit guide or intuition?
Yeah, how would you know?
Well,
yeah, Jennifer.
I mean, now we're
as
taking
long as you're listening to it, you're okay. You're okay.
Yeah.
So here's the other thing is that, people will come to me all the time. They'll say, well, who are my spirit guides? I feel like that's something that you really need to discover for yourself. And if you never do, that's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
What you have to know is that they're there. It doesn't matter if they don't have an avatar, if you haven't assigned them a face or a name. They are there.
Yes.
Now, would a spirit guide be the same as like a guardian angel?
No. A guardian angel would be different. Now, from my understanding, I don't know a whole lot about the angels. Okay, spirit guides have had a life on this earth. Angels have never incarnated, is the way that I understand that to be. Is they are divine beings that have never, they've always been this soul.
Yeah. They've not been.
So that would be
human.
the difference.
Yeah.
Yes. And a spirit guide would have actually had a life in the physical body at some point.
Okay.
Even if it was thousands of years ago, they could be with you, your ancestors, spirit guides.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So, tell me a little bit about. Let's see. You are a medium, so you can talk to people's relatives, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So when how do I want to ask this question? So if you were sitting down with a client and you're trying to gather answers for the person that you're with, how do you know when you are with the right
communicator?
Yes.
Okay. So that is where the evidential part of mediumship comes in. Okay. So I sit with a client, which is a sitter. So I have the sitter there and they want to hear from their loved one. And so what happens is I will make a connection with a person in spirit, and then the evidential information will come through. Now that can be anything from a personality trait, possibly a physical ailment that they had, memories between the sitter and the communicator. It would be something very specific, maybe their favorite pastime, maybe a way that, here's one. A lot of times I will get a phrase that they often said or a mannerism of them. So I always try to get 3 or 4 or 5 of those really concrete, specific, like those really evidential pieces of information.
Yeah.
So that my sitter understands and that I know as well, okay, this is the person that you wanted to hear from. This is indeed, for example, your father.
Okay.
So that has to be established. And then, then we go forward with the reading. But in evidential mediumship, it is that style of mediumship that puts that pressure on the medium to get that evidential information. So that is how we know.
Yes.
All right. I was just curious because, it's, you never know. For me, especially, I could be talking to you and, maybe some kind of spirit would come through and try to manipulate. I don't know. I'm just curious.
Do you do remote viewing at all? Like, could you look at us or be talking to us and see that if there's something that has been attached to us that's around at all?
I do remote viewing. So as far as attachments, I'm going to tell you that I have never dealt with any spirit attachments. I have a different thought process about them.
Okay.
And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier of energy. Energy we can certainly carry it with us. But I don't believe that a spirit will come and attach themselves to us. Why would they?
Yeah, that's a good question.
They have spirit stuff to do.
That's true. They're busy.
They don't want to come hang out with me, and attach themselves to me. Now, energy in itself, people, they tend to use these words as one and the same, energy and a spirit, right?
Yeah.
Yes, spirit comes through as energy because that's what they are now, but there are other types of energy as well. So can that energy stick with us? Oh, absolutely. It's like if you walk into, you can walk into a room. Let's say you walk into a room or something and somebody in there has just been arguing. You can feel that energy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You feel it, Now, if you stay there long enough, you might start to become a little bit angry yourself or depressed.
Exactly.
Your energy level has just dropped.
Like when we go to Walmart in Johnstown.
Yes.
Yes.
And you can tell we start getting there, and I'm already feeling anxiety.
Yes, Ronnie, that is the perfect example.
Yep.
So now you're feeling it before you get there, right?
Yep.
And you're also feeling it after you leave.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
because I have to talk him down once we leave. I'm like, okay, we did it. We got through it. Let's just breathe. Let's let it
Now,
go.
if you didn't have Ronnie to talk you down and to breathe through it, and you didn't know what to do with that energy, it would still stay there.
Yep.
That anxiety would still be there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, later on in the day, something happens, and that energy stays there as well. Pretty soon, you just have this crazy, a negative feeling, dense energy surrounding you. That is not a spirit. A lot of people think they have an attachment when they start to feel all of that. It's not a spirit attachment. That is an energy attachment
it's an
that
energy
you are
attachment.
holding on to.
Ah, yeah.
But it's not a spirit attachment.
So do you believe in spirit attachments? Like a lot of people leave a investigation, a paranormal investigation, and they feel like they've brought home something in an attachment.
Or is that...
No, I do not. I feel like they're picking up that residual energy.
Okay.
Look, you go into an investigation, you're expecting, okay, there's a little bit of, there's a lot of excitement. There might be this little bit of fear.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what's happening. So you're already creating this energy around you. Okay. You're already
Yes.
creating that. And so then you go into this space, maybe someone over here is kind of freaking a little, they're like, oh my gosh, did you see this? All of this. And just like when you leave Walmart, it's still there.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I went into a home with some, I'll give you the perfect example. Went into a home, I had asked a team from Colorado to come down because this was a crazy home. And we left there for 2 weeks. There was 4 of us that felt just terrible. Just terrible. I couldn't get that home out of my mind. I could not get the energy to leave. And I checked with some of the other investigators. They were the same. Now that's just because we were in it.
Yeah.
So it's like we still had it on us. So we did some healing and some clearing and it went away. But no, I don't believe that was a spirit. That's just that we were in that dense energy in that house, that thick, dense, disturbing energy for so long.
And so what do you do to clear that energy?
A couple of, so I don't have like a set ritual or I have one set routine, and I'll tell you what that is in a minute, but I just really try to be aware. So some of the readings that I do, they're pretty heavy. I can see some very, I see some heavy things and we talk about them, and I'm a crier. So after my readings, I tend to cry just to like release some of that.
Yeah.
Because when you're sitting in the middle, you're getting the emotion and the feeling from both the sitter and the communicator. Yep. And we have to be professional, right, while we're doing our reading. And so we really hold on to it. So I'm a crier. I will cry. I will also go outside. A lot of times, as soon as I'm done reading, I'm outside. So I'm aware of it. And a lot of it is just intention. Okay, I'm going to let that go now.
All right.
I have one thing that I do every day. I have a big tree outside of my house and I touch it. I touch it when I leave the home. And I touch it when I come back. So when I leave the home, it's with the intention of grounding me and giving me some strength to face my day. Like whatever is beyond my sanctuary, please help me deal with it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I
also
come back,
charge yourself with trees. Too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I come back, I will touch the tree. And I don't stand there for a long time. I really just sometimes touch it as I'm still walking. I just make sure to touch the tree. And that is with the intention to leave to not bring anything inside of my home that does not belong there, to not carry any of that with me. If I've had a bad day, I'm going to leave that with the tree. And I'm not going to take it into my home.
Cool.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, because Ronnie and I are paranormal investigators, so we go in and we experience some of these these different places, and you. That's why it was good to break that down for an attachment, because a lot of people will say that they think they have an attachment. And I am the one also that thinks that, like how you was saying, that it's more your feelings and emotions and everything else. Because we're sitting for hours and hours and hours in different parts of a house, concentrating and thinking. I mean, it's going to deplete your levels very quickly.
Absolutely. And if you're in one of the locations that has a lot of residual energy to it, if something happened there, that residual energy is still there. The house absorbs it. The house knows. The house tells a story. Yep. The place tells a story.
Yes.
It's telling you that story whether you're aware of it or not. You're sitting in that energy of whatever terrible thing may have happened right here.
Well, sure. And then if there's people that go to these different places all the time, all of them emotions are going to stay there.
Okay, so I would like to tell you something about that. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago, we have an abandoned hotel here, and the city actually, which is funny, had actually contacted me if I would go through there and talk to them about it. So for the last 6 years, they've turned half of this hotel into a haunted hotel. So for a month in October, I mean, and it's very good. They've done a really good job with it. It's all for charity. But now they're beginning to think, well, maybe possibly it is haunted. so I'm going through there and telling them, well, you've created
Yes.
this atmosphere.
Yes,
and
they thought formed it is what they
yes,
did.
exactly.
Yes.
And I said, for 6 years, people have come in here with a fear. There's genuine fear. There is screaming. There is bloody whatever, all this stuff that you have going on. So that doesn't clear out because the people went home. No, you shut it up for 9 months of the year.
Yeah, exactly. It's there. They've created that happens. Yeah. People create entities or whatever, thought form entities that stick around.
Absolutely. Yes. So that really was very interesting.
They have nothing to do with the history of the place. It's just what people's fears and thoughts and stories created.
Yes, they collect. Yeah, and that energy, it's never released. In fact, it builds and builds and builds. There's actually an excitement for it, right?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
And so like energy creates like energy. Year after year, we add more. And it becomes a dense, thick energy. And so it does feel creepy in here.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Right? You've done it.
So now it is haunted. And now it has something there. Because everybody, they're expecting this. And then they'll have their own experience. And then more gets added to the story and to the energy. And so that's how that is created.
Yes. Because, it's like we said about Walmart. You walk in there and you're going to feel all the anger and happiness and everything's going to be pulling you all at one place because that's staying there.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, how would you get rid of that? Like if Walmart would call you and say, hey, we need you to come into our place. People are starting to beat each other over here. We got some really heavy energy in here. So
here's the thing: it's just like the haunted house. You could, but the energy is going to return the next day as soon as they open the doors for business. That's the atmosphere they have.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's true.
Now, in a home, it's different. I can go in and clear a home, but I also sit with the homeowners and I tell them why this is created. I can feel this. I can feel that. This is what this is. Let's clear it out. Now, you have to make some changes to make sure that this does not come back. This is your homework.
Yes.
This is how you keep your home clear of this, letting this energy fester and build.
Well, positive thinking is a big part of it, correct?
Positive thinking is some of it, but I'm going to tell you that spiritual housekeeping and honestly, physical housekeeping is a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Open your windows. You'd be surprised how many houses I go into and they've got blankets on the windows and they never take them off. And the house is dark. No, you've got to have some natural light in your space. You've got to open your curtains. I don't even care if it's for an hour a day. Like start small if you have to. Crack open your windows. Let air flow through your home. You know, just small things like that that people really don't understand.
Makes your house, it makes the atmosphere feel better and lighter.
Yes, if you have a door that is always, like an interior door that you leave propped open all of the time. I've got a couple of them. Those doors never shut. But I definitely shut them intentionally just to move the energy that becomes stagnant behind it and to sweep because it's right. But just to move that energy that's behind it. I have lamps. I'm a lamp person. I have a big home and there are rooms and spaces that are not used, but they have a lamp in them. I'm very diligent every morning about walking in and turning on the lamp and diligent at night about walking and turning it off. Why? So that I am in the space, energy is moving, energy is not becoming stagnant. There is a purpose for me to walk in there. It gets a little bit of light in the day. I mean, really small things like that make a huge difference. if I just shut the door on that room and never went in, when I opened it, I'm sure it would just be this overwhelming, stagnant, stale feeling.
So what's the difference, though, if somebody, because I understand where you're coming from, but what if somebody was like, well, hey, you know what, let's just go buy buckets full of sage and we're just going to sage our house and try to do this the easy way. Because sage we all know that doesn't obviously always work. In fact,
you could try.
Because it can make things worse, So I was just curious, your thoughts on saging. I see a lot of people, they go buy like tons of sage. And I'm just like, why are you buying like 20 sticks of sage?
So I do smudge homes. I do smudge homes as part of the cleansing. Not all of them, though, because we can move energy. A lot of people don't like the smoke. And so we can move energy with sound.
Yeah.
We can move energy with intention. We don't need to smudge. But you're right, Todd. And the reason it makes it worse is because of some of those things I said previously. What are you doing? You're smudging, but you're going right back to the same old routine. You've definitely moved energy, but it's just going to settle back again in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You've just kind of stirred up a hornet's nest of energy.
Yes, pretty much, which is why it never worked for me to smudge your mom's house.
Right.
And smudge down in that basement. I'm just saying.
And it's just like the logic and common sense for smudging and understanding a little bit about the herbs. That's why you open a window.
Yes.
So that it's
to move that energy out.
It's to grasp the energy and move it out.
Correct. Yes.
So yeah, and that's why I don't understand why a lot of people
Again, though, you can do that with just what I call spiritual housekeeping. If you don't want to sage and you want to eliminate the need to do that, seriously, crack your windows for a little bit, 3 or 4 times a week. Let energy move. Let energy flow.
Mm-hmm. So like I was telling you today, he bought me some presents here today, and he got me a little drum, and I love it. And I was like, I'm going to go through and cleanse this house and get rid of stuff. And, because I do that with a bell, but now I have a drum. I'm so excited. So, yeah, freaking my cats out, but...
I have a bell also. So when I was talking about sound, yeah, you can do it just by clapping or a bell. Mm-hmm. And I love that you got a drum. I got one a couple of months ago, and I really love it.
I love mine too. He's so sweet and thoughtful, honey.
Oh,
yes. Yes, he is. That's so nice.
That has nothing to do with paranormal and psychic mediums.
Whatever. Yeah, actually it does. Or
well, yeah, it does.
Talking about it.
It does. Yes. That's right. I forgot. Psychic medium. That is part of that. But no, and that kind of brings up where you said about you can cleanse a house with music. So,
absolutely.
So you could do that with the drumming of a drum, like how you would use a bell, correct?
And the sound bowls are used for that too, to clear the energy, clear space.
You can also do it with 80s rock music. See? You can do it with any music.
Like...
Throw on some Duran Duran, you got it.
I mean, that's usually how I do it.
It works.
That's what I need to start doing with myself. I need to put that music on and dance around a little bit.
Like
yes.
I need
move
to
that energy. It is, and I'm glad you said that because it's the same for our bodies.
Yes.
Yes.
We got to move that energy. So if we come out of one of these investigations where we've already been sitting for 6 hours overnight, we're tired. There's been some scares. There's been the dense energy. there's been all of that. And then we come home and we sit. We're just sitting in it. And then and then the next day we have that paranormal hangover. Mm-hmm. So we're just sitting again, right?
Yes.
And this doesn't even just equate to paranormal stuff. Just whenever you have that feeling of that dense energy, you got to move your body. You got to start moving
Yes.
the energy.
So put on a song and get up and dance.
Yes.
Open up some windows and just dance, sing your heart out.
That's right. So let me ask this question. We talked before, and you was saying about when you was younger, you kind of had a fascination with, death and what happens when we die. And that brings me to this. Now, I see that you are a end of life. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right. Doula?
Doula. Yes.
Okay.
Tell us about that.
Yes. Is that now? My understanding is that's actually to prepare someone for death.
Yeah, it is. So basically, it's just about honoring the process. It's honoring the transition from the physical world back to the spirit world. That can be a very difficult thing to talk about. We don't talk about that. We talk about the birth process all the time. We're excited. We're doing parties for it, right? We are making plans. But when it comes to end of life, it's a very difficult thing to talk about. It's uncomfortable. And so it doesn't get talked about. So those that are at the end of their life and they are transitioning, sometimes it's just being the soundboard for them. And the family. It's about working on like legacy projects. Sometimes it's listening to their stories and tape recording them and then writing them out. Maybe working on a photo book, going through belongings with them. Who's going to have this and who's going to have that, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just, we were just talking about music. Sometimes just sitting with them and playing music. Sometimes it's having the deep conversations, but really it's just about honoring the process. It's about making sure they have all of their affairs in order, and that their services, what are your services going to look like? What do you want? Like, it's about talking about that with them. Now, that would be working with a long-term death doula client. I'm called in a lot just at the very end for vigil. I'm sitting vigil because it also involves sitting vigil. Now, being a medium, there's something very special that happens in that process. I'm going to try to not get emotional because I just did one a couple days ago and talk about that energy is still around, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Still there. I am human, and so I do have the emotions, but sitting vigil can be done remotely as well, because really what I'm doing is I am connecting with the energy of the person that is transitioning. And here's where being a medium, some very beautiful things happen. I'm able to know some of who is there for them. And I get to relay that to the family, and they understand immediately who this person is.
Yeah.
Right. I had that happen the other night. There's a great grandfather on the maternal side here, and he shows me right. And they're like, oh my God. So, yes, he is here. That gives the family some comfort.
Yes.
To know. Right.
Yeah.
Who is there. I can also, if the client is, so I can connect with the client as well. And conversations, sometimes people wait to have these conversations until they feel like their loved one is no longer coherent, right? And then they're pouring their heart out. We can have those conversations because I can connect with the client and we have those conversations. So it's a very, very beautiful process. It's also a very emotional process.
Yeah. Are you an empath?
Am I an? Oh, absolutely.
Yep, I thought you were.
Absolutely, yes. So that's really what it's about. It's just about honoring that process, whatever that looks like, in whatever capacity that the family or the person that is dying needs me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. For. That's cool.
But honestly, 90% of the time, I'm being called in right at the end, and I'm sending energy, and I'm connecting, and yeah.
So what's your stance on, I'll just ask it this way. A lot of people think that we're energy when we die. And then that's, been talked about for very, very, very long time, that we are energy, and when we pass, our energy continues on. Now, the afterlife, what would make somebody, how do I want to put this? Like paranormal investigators, we go and we look for spirits and ghosts, all that. But why would somebody stay and not?
They're choosing.
What's that?
They're choosing to stay. I don't feel that there are any souls that get stuck. I know people talk about this person is stuck. I have a hard time with that. Let me put it this way. I've never experienced that. Okay. And again, as I experience things and as I learn things, my point of view, I'm not dead. I'm not like dead stuck. This is the way it is. If something happened to change it, I would certainly look at it again. But where I'm at right now is that I feel like when we leave this physical body, we automatically go to the light, as people say. We're there, right? We cross over. We automatically cross over. But we also have free will. We can come and we can go. I wouldn't know exactly why somebody would want to stay unless I was having a conversation with them. But they do. They do. There are souls that like to come down and hang around. Maybe they, just have a fondness for a place. I'm also not sure that they're just there 24/7 either. I'm also not sure that when we are in a haunted building or a haunted place that we are, maybe there's not actually the spirit that's there, but that it is this residual.
Yep.
That's
how I feel about it, way more than the spirit's just chilling there for eternity.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been asked before what I thought, and I'm like, well, I don't know, because I don't know how that person that's no longer here thought, because it could be maybe there's a spirit sticking around because they're afraid to cross, because they're afraid they're going to get judged. So they're like, let's just stay right where we are.
I have actually, now they do cross though. That's the thing, is they just automatically do. I have had a connection one time where I asked the question, why were you here? Like, was your presence so strong for so long after your death? Like, their family felt them constantly, right?
Yeah.
And he did say something about, I don't remember exactly, but it was something about worrying about being judged, worrying what was going to be on the other side. If he were to choose to stay there, was he going to be able to come back? Like, there was this kind of confusion. And that was one time, but again, he wasn't stuck. He was just coming and going as he pleased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think they can do. I mean,
absolutely.
Like I get visited by my dead relatives through dreams and
sure.
Sure,
and she just had, and it's funny, and I don't know if it would be coincidental. I really don't believe in coincidence, but she was saying about she smelled cigarette smoke this morning.
I thought I was dreaming and smelling it, and then I woke up at 4 a.m. and I could still smell it. Cigarette smoke is what it smelled like. Oh. And I was like, well, maybe there's something burning in the house. So I got up and I went and looked everything, checked everything. I didn't see anything. And then I just, I mentioned it to him when he got up, but I didn't really think a whole lot about it. It was just weird.
And then we took a trip to Walmart. And one of the first aisles we walked down, it was almost like I was smelling an ashtray. I was like, really? What is that smell? And I told her, I was like, somebody's like really smoking, and it stuck to them. But then another 10 minutes later, I'm smelling it again. And
he thought it was him for a second.
Because I'm smelling myself. I'm like, it smells just like a damn ashtray. I was like,
it was weird.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Did you think of anybody right away in spirit when you smelled that? Did you have a thought of, is this, or, did you think of anyone?
I didn't think the only one that I thought of was his mom, and she's still with us. She's still alive because she used to terrorize us with her cigarette smoke. so that was the first thing I thought, because we used to live there with her, so we smelled it all the time, So yeah, I thought about her, but I didn't think of anyone else that had passed that smoked cigarettes or anything.
So when we get those phantom smells or those little signs or something, a lot of times we tend to dismiss them because somebody will say, oh, they'll think of somebody, right? And then they'll go, no, you're just being crazy. You're just, no. But that first person that you think of, that's your connection right there. So if you smell it again and somebody comes to mind, just like this, you will understand that connection.
And see, that's interesting because my mother's place, she has some stuff happening there. But I can remember vividly of waking up, smelling this thick, oil-based type of old perfume. Like how they wore it way back in the day.
Yeah.
But the only way I could describe it is like, man, that's something like my grandmother or someone's grandmother would wear, But I would get these different smells like that, and I still have no idea who that would be. I have no idea. But I'm guessing that if I'm smelling it, there's got to be some significance to it.
Yeah. Pay attention. This is the other thing I tell people. Pay attention. To little things when that happens. Just pay quick attention to your surroundings. Maybe like the time of day. Where were you? Did anything else catch your eye? And you may, if you are continuing to smell this, you'll probably see a pattern that will help give you an answer.
All right.
Now, when someone comes to you for a session, let's say they want a reading from you, how long does it take? Like if I would come to you and say, hey, can I get a reading? How long? Is it something that, because I know you said about evidential, is that like kind of the same thing when you're doing just a general reading, or is that something completely different? Or is it specific on what someone's looking for? If someone comes to you and says, hey, how's my, I might want to get married someday. What do you think? Can that happen?
This guy? Is it good for me?
I mean,
I know he cheated on me 4 times, but is he like my true love?
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a minute. So there are 2 different types of readings. And of course, there's a little bit of course they cross a little bit, right? But there is a mediumship reading. And then there is a psychic reading. So the mediumship reading would be having that direct link with 1 or maybe 2 during a session of your loved ones. I may make 2 connections, but it's usually 1 to 2. And those readings will be very much about the communicator. They will be relaying memories. They'll be about the communicator. Stuff. Yes. Now, some stuff might come in for, of course, there'll be a message and there'll be some stuff that definitely comes in for the sitter. But really the purpose of those is to leave the sitter, with that knowledge that there is life after death of the physical body, and with that knowledge that they were communicating with their loved one. I also like to explain in my sessions, look, this is how you can do this yourself. This is how you can communicate with your loved ones. They don't need to use a medium. And that's one thing I always like to leave my clients with. So reading like that, 45 minutes.
What's the difference between a medium and a psychic?
So now we're going to go into that. So
because if somebody listening to this, because I myself get confused. So I don't want the audience to listen and get confused as well. And it fits in with what you're talking about with mediumship. which I'm guessing that is spirit work, right? And psychic is universe, stars, things like that, correct?
Yes, that it is just I call it the collective energy, right? The information is just coming. When I am doing medium work, I know exactly who I have a connection with.
Okay.
I know exactly where that is coming from. It's very, very strong. Here's that intuition and spirit guides, right? So when I'm connecting psychically, it could be information from my spirit guides, my client's spirit guides, the universe, whatever it is. I don't necessarily know in that moment. It's just coming.
Yeah.
Yes, and they're two different readings, obviously.
Obviously. So, yeah. So when we go into psychic, that's much more about the client. However, there are some things that I won't do. I can't do them. I do not see the future. So I don't do anything about the future. The future hasn't happened yet, right? All I can do is connect with the energy that has been and is now. And that's what I'll connect with. So if somebody were to ask me that love question, right, I can read into the energy of the situation as it is now. And I can see some past patterns, which then can maybe tell us about the future, but that's not telling the future. Like I would explain all of that.
Yeah.
Sure. That's like a path that you could take.
Yes. And psychic readings also are not there for, spirit is not here in any way, shape, or form to tell us how to live our lives. They're not. They are not going to give us those answers like, am I on the right path? They're not going to tell us that. That's something that we need to learn for ourselves.
Sure, we figure that out as we go.
And honestly, we're always on the right path, even if it feels not right, because that not right is that prompt from your spirit guide, and you will change direction.
Yes.
And you needed that for some reason.
Exactly. And do you use tools like pendulums or tarot cards or things like that? Or is your mind your tool?
I use cards occasionally, but not usually. I use them when I do lives and stuff because it's a quick way, right, to get into somebody's energy and just I can get more done when I'm demonstrating. But in my sessions, one-on-one, I do not use them. No.
Okay.
And I between both things, and this is just my personal opinion, between mediumship and then psychic, the mediumship really captivates me because you are working with spirits. And I love the mediumship. Yes, and it's not like that's psychic to me would be vague because it's something like you said. It's not like predetermined. If you're looking at a life situation, it's more like a guide. It can be changed all the time. Am I right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And psychic readings they're not my favorite. I'll be honest with you. I've really kind of pulled away from them because, again, some of the questions, they just make me cringe. Because I mean, that's the best way for me to say it.
Like, what's the worst question you've had to answer for someone?
Oh my word. I mean, I can't even think of them right now. There's so many, but love questions really, really are just, and any question that says, should I do this or should I do that? Any should I question is, and there's a ton of them. What should I do?
Yeah.
You should, my answer will always be the same. You should listen to yourself because you already know.
Listen
you
to
should
your
throw
heart.
out, you should throw out the side that's arguing, right? Because I know you're arguing with yourself. Like, listen to that. You already know. I'm not here to tell you what to do. So, psychic readings, my psychic readings are very different. You'd probably, if you asked me that question, get exactly that answer.
Right. And then it makes sense too. So,
yeah,
because it's something that pretty much you're going to control anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to control if you're going to get married, if you're going to have a baby, if you're, you know what I mean? These are things that's not a definite thing. Like, you know, it's not like me saying, it's like me saying to you, hey, am I going to die? Well, of course, someday you are.
Someday you will.
But it's up to you to win, you know.
Now, so when I'm doing, when I'm doing any type of reading, again, there is crossover. But I'm always very, very clear about what is what.
Okay, what do you mean crossover?
So if I'm doing I might be doing a psychic reading and somebody's loved one might come through.
Okay.
And I'm not going to be like, nope, this is psychic.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, so it crosses over.
Okay. And
Yeah.
by the way, so-and-so is here. And then we'll talk about that. And their thoughts on this are boom.
Okay.
Or we'll have that conversation. So same when I'm doing a mediumship reading, the communicator might, some of the stuff they're telling me might all of a sudden give me this impression of a situation that's going on. And so then I will talk to the communicator about that. But that is kind of a two-part process. There is psychic and there is mediumship going on there.
Yeah. So
they work hand in hand. They really do.
Because you deal with spirits all the time, loved ones, people that's just passed. When you go someplace, and I'm sure this is all the time, these voices, I'm sure they reach out to you all the time because they want your help. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with knowing what spirits to interact with, or what ones you can say, look, man, I don't want to do this right now. I'm just curious on how that works.
Now. I'm trying to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, because they're going to reach out to you all the time.
So actually that does not happen to me as much as you would think that it would. And that's because when I first started, it did. And I had to learn very quickly. I had to learn boundaries.
Yes, teach me,
and
please,
I had to learn.
I need this.
But the boundaries, believe it or not, the boundaries didn't have to be with spirit, because spirit is all around me, all around you, all around everyone, all of the time. I was just making myself available and aware because this was new, and it still is like mind-blowing and amazing.
Sure.
But I can't be in it 24/7.
Yes.
And so I had to learn to set boundaries, and those boundaries I had to set were with myself. Okay, Jen, you're not working right now. You don't even need to be aware of it. Just right. So I would just turn my awareness of it way, 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 way down.
Okay.
And then I can get through my day. And then when I get ready to work, boom, I open up, and that open up is really just switching my awareness, and they will come in. That's not to say that occasionally I'm not somewhere and I get a sense, or I know that somebody's there, but I am not the person that if I'm in the grocery store and I know that this person right here is for this person there. No, I'm not the person I'm not the medium that's going to go up and say that to somebody.
Yeah, excuse me, your mother's here.
No, absolutely not. That can do more damage. Like, no, I'm not that person. So I just tune him out.
Yeah. And I'm glad that Ronnie said that, what she just said, because I was just sitting here thinking, I'm like, well, I'm going to ask her this. Do you see the spirits, or do they come to you and you can feel them? And how does that work?
Okay, so that's funny you would ask me that. So generally when I say that I see, it's in my mind's eye.
Yes.
The image is so clear, but it's not a physical manifestation in front of me.
Okay, because some people, like I've seen mediums, and they'll say, you know what, your brother's with you, and he's wearing a red hat, and it might be some significant thing, and that person's like, oh, wow, yeah, my brother used to wear a red cap when he was young.
You can see them like that in your mind's eye.
Okay. All right.
I can see the way that they look, I could describe them. I could tell you a lot of times when they show me a memory, I'm seeing it. I can see childhood homes. So you can see it very, very
Yes.
clearly
Okay. All
in
right.
the mind's eye. However, I do want to tell you this for the first time ever, 3 weeks ago in my own home, I have this space that I have been renovating. And I was up there. I turned around. I knew somebody was behind me. In fact, I was talking to, and when I say somebody in my household, I was positive that it was him. I was already talking to him. When I turned around, there was, and you said red hat, so that's funny too, but there was a man standing there, but he was wearing a red shirt. He was wearing a red flannel shirt, and he had a hat on that had like the earmuffs that come down, like the fluffy ones.
Yeah.
He was there for a split second. Right there. That was not in my mind. He was so close. I could have reached out and touched him. But instead, what did I do? I got startled. And I was like, I just did the whole, what the heck? And then he was gone. So here's where I go to changing my thinking on some things, right? I had never experienced that before. Now I have. So can that happen? Absolutely. But with mediums, most of it is mental. The majority of it is mental. It's in our mind's eye.
Okay. Now, can you do that where you can pick up an object and you can actually
psychometry?
Yeah, kind of transport yourself back into that time.
I can. Objects hold energy, so yes, you can hold an object in your hand and you can let it tell you its story.
And what about a person? Can you touch a person and have like things start flowing through your brain of what's happened with this person or their person that they're thinking of?
I have never touched a person to try that, but that's pretty much what happens in a psychic reading.
Yeah, that happens to me by accident. All these things that we're talking about happen to me by accident. Like I've kind of had a rough life, right? A lot of stress, and I was basically focused on just surviving for a long time. And now I don't have that. I'm very happy and settled and peaceful. And suddenly all these things are just flowing in for me. I'm having all these weird experiences and I'm getting visitations and, it's crazy. And like you, I can see these people in my mind's eye. I know they're there, but I can't see them with my eyes, but I see them in my mind.
So this is because, Ronnie, that you're healing. You're in this place. You'll hear mediums and psychics talk a lot about how trauma was one of the big things that kind of broke these abilities wide open. It's not necessarily the trauma, but it's in the healing from the trauma. And you just said that you're finally in this place, right? You're finally in this quiet place. This doesn't surprise me because they're going to open up huge for you. Do you work with them? Because I feel like you should.
Sometimes I think I should too. Yeah. I mean, we are ghost investigators, paranormal investigators and stuff. And I would use that in that capacity also. But yeah, I mean, I'm getting a lot of visitors here. Like a couple of weeks ago, I was using the bathroom. Okay. I was reading, we were having a guest on the show and I wanted to read his book. I wanted to be prepared. And things just started happening when I started reading that book. And so I'm in the bathroom and I'm doing my business and I could feel something there or someone there. And it was very heavy. And I was like, look, I know that you're here, but I'm going to need you to back off right now because I'm doing something here. I'm trying to use the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm having things like that or like last night with the cigarette smoke and things will wake me up. Something will touch my leg and I can turn and I see that someone's there in my mind's eye and I can see how they're dressed from whatever time period.
Yes.
My cat was looking up at it. My cat could see it, So it's crazy. These things are just happening like all the time now, left and right.
Yeah, because you're aware and because you are in a quiet space to be able to accept it, right? You're now in this space, and it's a beautiful space. And the other thing is that this is a journey. It is like a self-discovery journey. You'll learn so many things about yourself as you go through this.
Well, awesome. I'm excited. So, yeah, I want to talk to people like you more so that I can figure out, so I can learn what's happening to me, how I can control it and put boundaries up and, like they can stop waking me up from my sleep or don't be in the bathroom with me. Like,
So honestly, it took me about a year. Yeah. It took me about a year before I was like, okay, this is enough. I've got to figure out
yes
how to do this, right?
Yeah.
But when I realized that it was me, instead of telling spirit, not right now, not right now, not right now, it was me. I needed to switch off and not be so aware, because I was aware. So, the more you look for something, the more it's there. You think about a yellow car and suddenly you see yellow cars everywhere.
Yeah.
Spirit, once you have that experience and those experiences that you're having and you are aware, it continues and continues and continues, which is a very good thing because that's how you're learning. But you also have to learn to set the boundaries with yourself.
All right. Yeah.
When you're ready.
A wonderful podcast.
It took me a year to be ready. I just thought it was fascinating.
Yeah.
And that's why, we love talking to people like you, because, you've been there, these different things. You didn't just, come out like, hey, I'm a psychic or a medium, that's not how it works.
No,
you're given this gift and you awaken it pretty much. I mean, you're going to awaken this gift. I guess it's already awake, but you're just now seeing it. You've opened yourself up. Would that be right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because every single person on this planet has the ability to do this. Every single person, they're not gifts, they're abilities.
Yes.
Well, yes, but we're conditioned though. That's the thing.
Yes. Everybody has the ability. And I think that honestly, that this is why trauma seems to be, and gosh, it's a hard way to get there. And not everybody has to get there that way, which is also something that I'm trying to teach. But I think what happens with trauma is that we just kind of get broke wide open, right?
Yes.
Like vulnerability. You become vulnerable.
We just hit this rock bottom place emotionally and all of this stuff. And this is when in the healing, when we kind of start to get up from that, we realize just how strong, we realize our strength, we realize our own power, and we realize that we get to choose from here on out. We get to choose what we bring in and what we want to believe, right?
Yes.
Because we just get to this place where we're basically starting over. No one is telling us anymore, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
We're going to do this.
And that's how I feel. Yeah. I feel like a completely different person than what I was 2 years ago, which was my breaking point, and now, and I try to explain that to a friend today that I'm just not that same person and I can't go back to being that person. I can't, you people, my old friends and associates can't expect me to just be able to pick up and be her anymore because I'm not her.
Right. I don't know how long we have, but I would like to tell you a little something about that.
Okay.
If we have time.
Oh, yeah. All the time
I don't
need.
know why, Ronnie, but I just feel like this is something that maybe this weird little part in my story has purpose for you.
Okay.
So yeah, when I was at this point, I'll tell you what happened with signs for me. And people talk about these signs in the first, and how subtle they are. I was in this place from severe trauma. I had PTSD. So I was in this place
me too.
where I had not worked. I had not anything for like a year. Mm-hmm. I was very, very ill. I weighed about 90 pounds. I was just sick. I was super sick. And I wasn't sleeping either. And so I was sleep deprived. And so I was, not thinking right. Anyway, I was a huge mess. Yeah. And there was one night I was laying on the living room floor from just crying my guts out. And I had this thought. I had this moment where I said, I do not want to live like this anymore. I don't. And I was sobbing. I said, I just don't want to live like this anymore. I'm afraid. I'm this, I'm that. And I don't want to live like this anymore. So that if there is anyone or anything out there bigger than me that is listening, I said, I will quit. I will stop trying to make this be what it's not. I will stop trying to, fix what's already happened. And I will just go forward with what is. And I will listen. I will listen. Just give me a sign and I will listen.
Yes.
So the next thing that happened, and I cannot even make this up. 3 hours later, there was a text on my phone. It was about 6:00 in the morning. And it said, hey, we have a position open at the radio station. And we would like you to come in and interview at such and such a time. Well, that text wasn't for me, but it came to my phone, right?
Yeah.
I was there. You bet your butt I was there. That interview. Because I had promised.
Yeah.
Give me a sign.
Yes, that's crazy.
Get me off this floor and get me living again, right?
Yes.
And so I did. I showed up to this interview looking ridiculous. I had bawled my eyes out, no sleep, all of the things.
Yeah.
In fact, when I walked in, they asked me, are you here to pick up a prize that you won on the morning show? No, I'm here to interview. But you guys, I got that job.
Awesome. That's awesome.
That's the thing. I got that job on the spot.
Wow.
And did they ever find out that the
they knew. They knew because they knew who they were texting. So that's why it was a huge surprise when I walked in. It was like, wait, what? I said, no.
They thought you were someone else. Yeah. That's funny. That's an awesome story. I love that.
Yes.
And the second part of that is, so there was the sign, right? I promised I would follow it, and I had to. As I'm walking down from the radio station, there's another sign, an actual physical sign taped to the door. And it was for our local food pantry. And I was in a bad way. And so I said, okay, all right, I'm going to go. I'm sobbing. I'm crying the whole entire time. I'm standing in line, just bawling.
Aww.
And they were as sweet as could be. And they helped me out. And then me and my kids ended up actually going back and volunteering. But it's just about those signs. Those signs aren't always what we want to see. The direction our guides guide us. Mm-hmm. So, I didn't want to go to that food pantry. My pride didn't want to go.
Yeah.
But I went. I didn't want to get up in 3 hours after crying my eyes out and go to that interview. I was terrified. Right? It wasn't even for me. And I looked ridiculous. But I had said, show me the signs and I will go.
Wow. That was an immediate reaction. You know what I'm saying? It happened so fast.
It really did.
That's incredible.
But did it happen so fast? Because let me tell you something, that text still would have come. I do believe that. I just wouldn't have been aware. I would have said, oh, wrong number.
Yeah, that's true because of what you literally just said to the universe.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that food pantry sign would have still been there, and I would have said, I'm not going there. Mm-hmm. Forget that. So it was my awareness. It was my asking, and it was being open to receive whatever it looked like.
Yes, that's
awesome.
Yes, that's true.
I love that story. This has been one of the best podcasts that I've had. And I say that Every single time we have a guest like her.
Yes.
I'm just saying. These are my favorite.
He's saying it.
These are my favorite, honey.
Well, and that's good because I love talking to people like her because I don't know these things. And I'm sure that when people listen to this podcast, they don't know neither. So, and some might have a general idea of what they do. But asking these questions, I'm sure I'm not the only one that's going to be sitting listening to this going, boy, maybe I should ask that question. Oh, wait, Todd did ask that question. So,
or people like me that are just starting to experience things and they don't quite understand it or how to control it. And
absolutely.
Yeah. This has been awesome. Well,
Jennifer, I can't thank you enough for being on my show. It blows my mind sometimes. But no, I really appreciate all your insight and your intuity and things like that, because as people, we need people like you to go to for guidance and questions and things that we just don't know the answers to.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having me. It's been so fun. I love to do shows like this. A lot of people, when I go on their shows, they want me to read the whole hour, but I like to talk too.
Yeah. Right?
Yes. Yes. And we want to know about you and what, how you became who you are. And I mean, we can always do a show on readings and things like that, but I want the backstories. I want to know about you and how you got into this and, what you get out of doing this, and it's personal gratification, obviously, but, a lot of people, they definitely need people like you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
No,
it's not an easy job. Some days I tease with some of my other mediums. We always laugh. We say, we got to be half crazy to do this.
Well, yeah, and you're really, you feel all their feelings. So yes, you're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry, you're gonna, what I mean? It's
right.
It's something that I definitely would not want that kind of responsibility. I'm an empath, and I can walk into a place and I can feel everything, and I'm good with that. Because
I'm not always good with it.
I wouldn't want your job of being able to talk to someone's their family member, a loved one. I wouldn't want that. It is a huge
responsibility. It really is. There's a lot of ethics actually that go, that go into it. Which is when we talk about the ethics, I'm not the medium that's going to go up to somebody in the store and say, oh, hey, by the way, your mother is here. And she says, don't forget the cinnamon. I'm not the one that's going to do that. Right.
Yeah.
Because I could really throw somebody off.
Yes.
So, that's something that we don't do, but also, there's just the way a message should be delivered. I always try to deliver it exactly as I'm hearing it. But there also must be, compassion and empathy for the sitter. And there are some questions they might ask me that I won't even ask.
Yeah.
Because it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly.
And like you said, I mean, this is something that psychologically you could really damage somebody if you don't know what you're doing. So like you, obviously, what you're doing, you're sitting with that client, you're their empathy and compassion, and you're taking all this into consideration. You're not up there guessing. You're really channeling in for them because you want to help them.
Oh, absolutely. And I would never guess. And I'm very open and honest when I'm doing my readings as well. If I don't have a good connection or I'm not making the connection for whatever reason, I'll tell them it's me. I don't know what's going on. That doesn't happen very often, but I also feel that when there's a piece of information that comes in and it's a psychic piece, it's very, very important that the client understands this is a psychic piece of information. Use your own discernment with it.
Sure.
Because if they believe that I just gave them a piece of information that maybe came directly from Father who is in spirit, that has a completely different meaning in there,
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm very, very clear. This is a psychic impression. Or, here we are directly connected with your Father, and this is what he's saying. But there has to be that distinction, because there just has to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because the ramifications of not getting this correct, when someone's seriously thinking and they believe what you're saying, it can be devastating.
Yes, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Which is why psychic readings have taken a different turn for me. Because, again, I don't feel like there's information we don't need to have. There's information we need to learn.
Yes.
You will have that information, but you need to learn it. There's a reason. There's a purpose.
Yes. Now I have to figure out what my purpose is.
I think that is like the lifelong question.
Yeah.
Yes.
I ask myself every day.
Yeah.
What is my purpose with this?
Yes.
I do understand, my purpose is healing. My purpose is helping. My purpose is to leave people knowing that there is a connection with their loved ones, that they can do that as well, that there is, life beyond the death of the physical body.
Yes.
But sometimes I'm like, but what is my purpose?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, okay, all these things
what do
are
I
happening,
do with this?
all these
What do I do with
abilities. Yeah, how am I supposed to use these for the greater good, really?
So there's
How
the
can I
other
help
thing, Ronnie.
people? Yeah.
Is you will learn that there are so many things that you can do that you will get squirrel brain. That was me. Oh my gosh, I can do this, and I can do this and this and this and this. So I was investigating. I was doing a lot online, a lot of remote viewing in buildings, because I'm very good at that.
Mm-hmm.
I can walk into a building and know right where the energy is and what it is very quickly.
Cool.
So I was doing a lot of that. And then I was doing the mediumship reading, and then I was getting into cards, and then I was like, oh, hey, I can do this psychic stuff. Oh, hey, I can do the energy. And then I was like, whoa, you are burning out. You are doing 100 things, and you're not excelling in any of them.
Yes.
You're good, but you got to figure out what it is you really love.
Which one?
Yes.
Hone in on that one.
Exactly.
Yes.
And not one, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Don't burn yourself out, but do have the experience. Just know this. You don't have to do all of them. I think there's tremendous pressure on us when people understand our abilities and understand that we, understand the level of them and how much work we've put into them. Then they want us to do a lot of things, and we can do it, but it doesn't mean that we have to.
Well, sure, you could hurt yourself too,
Yeah, you can
because,
drain yourself.
Yes, not just drain, but that's a lot of mental things. You could really screw yourself up.
Yeah, so that was another boundary I had to set with myself. No, you can't do another house until 2 a.m. in the morning online. Go to bed.
Yes.
Yes.
Sleep.
Yeah, because eventually, after a while, like you said, you're going to burn out, or maybe you're really going to push yourself mentally, and something's going to happen, and it's not going to be for the better neither. It's going to be something damaging.
Yeah.
No, we definitely have to take care of ourselves. We all do.
All right. So how can our listeners get in touch with you if they want to have a reading or they need one of your services? What should they do? Where should they go?
My website is jenniferleepsychic.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can also find me. I have a private Facebook group on Facebook, which is Jennifer Lee Psychic Medium. And on TikTok, I believe it is Jennifer Lee Psychic Medium as well. And I've been doing, if you want to see me work, see a sample of my work, you could follow one of those 2 pages, because I do live demonstrations on there.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, awesome.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do not.
Okay, all right. No, that's okay. A lot of people don't.
Have one.
A lot of people utilize their Facebook for that type of thing.
Yeah.
So.
I'm not very tech savvy, so I would. I mean, I am bare minimum,
right?
Yeah.
I would get overwhelmed trying to do all that, plus be tech savvy on top of it. So, yeah,
I'm very bare minimum.
That'd be too much.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer.
You're so welcome.
This has been a pleasure. This has been wonderful.
It has been. And, I'm looking forward to possibly having you on in the future to find out what you've been doing and where you've been going and all these things that you have in your life that you do. I
would love to do it. Let me know.
Awesome.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thank you.
All
Good
right.
night.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning in with us tonight, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow to receive notifications when new content from Paranomaly Podcast is made available. If you believe you have something paranormal happening in your home or business, or you believe you may have witnessed a UFO or UAP, please send us your story, your photos, videos, questions, suggestions, and your comments to paranomalypodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit us at www.paranomalypodcast.com for more content and information, including all our social links. Hey, thanks again for watching and listening, and I hope that you tune in for next week's episode of Paranomaly. Hey, a word of caution. Paranomaly Podcast and its affiliates or hosts do not verify or check the validity of any person, team, or its members. Paranomaly Podcast highly advises that you proceed with caution when contacting any person or team before allowing them and having them into your home or business. A legit paranormal research and investigation team will never charge you a fee to investigate your home or business. They do, however, accept donations to help further the research and investigations if you so choose to do so. All right, thanks everybody.